Hey guys, I am Deem Zone. This is Gamers Oasis. We're going to talk about what strategy do you take in Mayhem. So mind you, my actual experience with this is limited to one Mayhem so far, but I really kind of try to look at it analytically and make good decisions from the very onstart. You can see here I'm fighting the Tier 1, the Category 1, whatever you want to call it, Mayhem monsters. I was brand new. I didn't really see me being anywhere outside of this. If you watch my other videos, which I'll link to in here, I talk about the fact that I can hunt Category 2, but it'd be very difficult and I really didn't have the armor. So let me go back over that and I guess more of a clear statement. If you're not doing at least LR 15s to 25s, you probably don't want to be in Category 2 or 3. If you are not wearing ghost armor, you probably don't want to be in Category 2 or 3. If you're not wearing the proper armor plates, not just any proper plates, and you want to wear probably about that to about 5, you really shouldn't be doing Category 4 or 5. From what I understand, I've never experienced that. I can tell you that I have one piece of ghost armor that was given to me, and when that piece of armor was hit in Category 1, it just said deflected. When I was in Category 2, I didn't stay there long enough to really get a feel for it, but comparing the damage from Category 1 to Category 2, I would take some damage. We required heals at the end of each fight, but I'd be fine for the most part, unless we had, of course, crits and that type of stuff. If I had plates, I probably wouldn't even take damage. It's pretty incredible stuff. So, what is the difference between Atlas armor and Ghost armor? Well, the difference is 10 points of damage. That's a lot. So that's something to take into consideration. What's the difference between an LR15 and an LR25? I actually don't know, but I know that it's pretty significant between 10 and 15, so it's got to be good damage. I know that most people that hunt Category 2 and 3 like to use LR25s because it's a good damage ratio and that type of stuff. So there's some transparency on what I'm talking about with that. But you have to decide, what are you hunting it for? Are you hunting it for the big Hoff type moments or the globals that happen when you get into the higher categories? Are you trying to speed your way through the points because A, you don't have enough time, or B, you've gone for the red light mission chain? What's the goal with this? In my particular goal, I went with the bronze because I have forever, essentially, as long as I'm able to play the game, and I have no big money to put into it in Category 1. Trying to get to that many points would be incredible. I heard people have a very hard time doing it, and they play supposedly a lot of hours. But I don't think I would. I don't think that's my pace. So I went with a lower. I went with the bronze because it was easier to get. It's something I can actually achieve, maybe not in a single Easter Mayhem, but if I had enough time and enough Easter Mayhems, I could do that. I will say the biggest cost I ran into was the decay on my LR weapons. Because all my LR weapons are limited, that meant I had to replace them. And during that Mayhem, the LR 10s were 128%. And the 15s were actually less. They were like 119, I want to say. 130. No, I want to say like 119 is what they were. 122. Something like that. But it was a little cheaper. So the sooner you can get out of the LR10s, the better. Because I had to buy so many LR10s, it was more expensive. When you get into the LR25s, though, I think you're again going to be into the higher amounts. So if you're trying to do this for the cheap, you want to find the cheapest LR rifle you can find, and then find a category that fits it, and then go do that one. The markup is what kills you. If you had a non-limited weapon that you could just repair, and then unlimited armor, that you could just repair. I think you could absolutely make a killing, potentially in um, mayhems. I think the possibility is literally there that you would come out profitable 100% of the time. Maybe not in the micro, but over the macro, over many, many, many shots, over thousands of PED cycled, you probably would. I started out with right at 300 PED after I bought the things I needed and the weapons I needed and that type of stuff. And I know I cycled well over 600 PED worth of stuff. Well over. I'm probably close to 1,000. And eventually I did run low, but I was also having to rebuy these LR10s at 128%. I started out with 2, which cost me a 32 PED or something like that, and I ended up having to buy like 5. So 5 32 PED purchases equals like 160 PED. That's a lot of PED out of 500 spent just on the rifles. If I had an unlimited weapon, you could knock 28% off of that, and I'm not going to do that math in my head right now, but that's between 1/4 and 1/3, so we'll say close to 35 PED probably, which would have been literally in their LR matrix. And then I also bought some LR15s. I was hoping I'd be far enough into it. I tried it, and to be honest, I really felt like I was losing a lot very quickly, and I don't feel like the returns on the mobs were very good during that period of time, so I stopped using that LR15 as soon as I could. There was just a time that you could not do that. Now, I have since found a very good weapon that would fill in for an LR10. And if you watch next year's videos, I hope to be buying these over this next year. And I'll probably be using the same weapon, which would be about an LR10 or so. And be doing category 1. But I will hopefully have either found these or I will have bought these. And I don't want to talk about where I found it yet, but I will say that since I've been doing this, I actually ended up finding the biggest weapon I've ever found, and it's basically equivalent of an LR10. And when I went to look up the prices, these sell for 106%. So if I can get an LR10 for 106% versus 128%, that's pretty good. Now, are they exact? No, they're not. They are not as efficient as an LR10. They are not as long range as an LR10. But the only thing that really matters is the efficiency. Range doesn't really matter for this type of fight. It's a canned fight. What I mean by a canned fight is the situation is the same every time. The arena is set. You don't really move. You pull them to you. If you have enough range to do that, you could use pistols if you want. And pistols are also a very good way to do that because they fire quickly, which means if you can try and kill them before they get the next attack off, potentially, it could be very good. So, with that being said, look for that in the future. Alright, so now the question is amps, armor plating, unlimited, limited, that type of stuff. I was surprised at how long my B101s, I think it was, that was given to me, lasted. They're only 1 PED, but they lasted for what seemed like ever. I think I would go through about 1.25 amps per LR10. So, or maybe I got that backwards. Maybe I go through an LR10 every like 75% of the amp. It was forever and ever and ever. I also had, I originally bought a limited scope, a bullseye limited, and I kind of regret it. That's one of the biggest mistakes I made. I paid a little bit of markup for it, but it was a really good price. Looking back on it, I probably never should have bought it. I had sold that back, got most of my money back, took a little bit of a loss. But The reason why that was such a bad idea was I found a higher bullseye scope or laser, whatever it is, that was higher level, unlimited, but because it had so much starting PED, the markup was so low. Um, I want to say when I bought it, it had like 45 PED on it, and I bought it and it cost me like 83 PED or something like that. It was 180% markup, but this thing's amazing, and it's nowhere near. I don't know, the numbers are not right. I think I have it in my video somewhere. I'll try and find that clip and add it. But this thing is amazing. It can have like 134 PED on it, which is nuts. It's also 82%, which is nuts. It's the same thing as my laser, which is crazy. I have both a laser now and a scope that are 82%, which means anything below 82% goes up. And it also increases my learning period by a little bit, which is very nice, because what I think a lot of people don't know about learning periods is most of the time the learning periods when you're having the bad, inefficient shots. So that bonus to experience you get happens when you are in a range that you're not getting, you're too, that you are not, you should not be using that weapon. Your damage, your hit, your shots per minute are not right. You need to wait to get skills before doing that. Well, by that time, then you're basically out of the learning period, which is a bit of a thing. So there's that. But for this, it really, really, I think, helped a lot with my ability to be able to get so many skill points during this mayhem. And if I frankly get skill points like this every time I have a mayhem, then I don't know what's going to happen. So what's the difference between having a category 1 and a category 4 mob? Is it just the amount of returns you get, or is there more? Well, according to MindArc, they give you a greater chance of having better points received from the higher level mobs. That means that a category 4 or a category 1 should not always give the same. They could. They did not say that you could not kill a category 1 and get 2,500 points, which is the cap. What they said is that you have a much better chance of getting a 2,500 points off of a category 4 than you do off of a category 1. And I would probably say at least a 4x. I would actually be willing to say that the chance of that is probably like, let's say it's like 20% for category 10. I'm just going to go with a random number here. And then we'll go ahead and say that category 9 would be 10%, half. And then we'll go ahead and say that a category 8 would be like 5. And then 7 would be 2.5. And then a 6 would be like 1.2. So if you kill 125 mobs, you probably would get 100 or the 500 points off of one mob. But when you go down to 5, you're looking at 0.75, or yes. And now you'd have to kill. You'd have a less than 100% chance in 100 mobs. Somewhere down around category 1, you'd be at like 0.3000. So 0.0003 would be about your chance. So obviously that's not where you want to be if you're trying to go for points. But if you're, again, going for the bronze, if you're going for the, I want to take it easy, I want to fight things that are within my level, that hits the mark. Now, one of the things I learned, or think I've learned, from this mayhem after doing this mass amount of pulls on these creatures, is because they're higher level, the codex gave more reward, which was very, very, very nice. Also, I think I figured out something. So it's not that your proficiency over your weapons is what gives you more skill points or what gives you more loot. It's like there's a learning period on the monsters themselves. So, and I don't know if that would be hit points, if that would be threat, like how much damage they do, how much defense they have, how much they dodge. It's probably a combined skill that gives it a score, and then your score, your ability, which would be a combined, your ability to dodge, your ability to evade, your ability to whatever threat they pose to you, and then your ability to do damage would be your combined score. And if you are below them, you're going to get a lot of points. And if you're equal to them, then you get normalish points. And when you're like 5 levels above them, you get significantly less. The reason why I say this is since I've done my mayhem, since I've gone up like 6,000 points, 5,000 points in my basically my weapon proficiency and a lot in crafting, but that's a whole different story. A lot of it was my weapon proficiency. Going from like a 19 or an 18.9 to a 21.4 to hit, for example, and laser, that difference, and then going back and fight Minoras, I've seen a decrease in my skills significantly. I go fight things that are just lower level than Minoras, and we're talking I'm well within the double digit gain for 15 PED, where it was usually that's triple digits, over 100 at least, with the Minoras in the past. So I'm wondering, how does this work and how can I test this? This is going to take me down a different road, which I'll get into other videos where I'm actually going to be scanning monsters and trying to figure out what they are, that type of stuff. Because I believe there's more to that than just the skills you gain. There's actually good benefits for that. Like there's a lot of information that can be gained by understanding what Mindark thinks their creatures are by the way they scan. Any animal I can get, I should be able to tell how many hit points they have by sweating them to be able to get that, because we know so far it seems that hit points and sweat are 1-to-1. So then I'll be able to build a more detailed stat profile for each one of these monsters, which I'm going to use probably in my Where in the Entropia series. I think that's going to be very good, and that will relate into some of my research stuff that I'm looking into and try and find some comparisons and whatnot. We're going to see where this takes us. I don't know. We're kind of right in the middle of this. Welcome to the vlog series. This is what we do. So that being said, you have to really be mindful, getting back to Mayhem, not into this other stuff yet. You have to be kind of mindful of what are you going to be able to put into this. You don't want to pick the Regulite and then realize that you are really a 15 to 20 hour within the Eastern Mayhem guy, not the 100 to 150 hour guy. If you've not taken vacation time and you've not taken this and you're not in a high category, then you probably need to not go for something so ambitious. I'm hoping I can do the bronze and then go back and do the silver and then go back and do the gold and then the Regolite. I think that'd be amazing. I don't know if that's a possibility. I have a feeling the answer is no. But even if it's not, I'm still going to like it. It's not like that piece of armor or mask or whatever is going to be so important to whatever I'm doing that I won't find better or do better. As some of you guys know, one of the things I want to become in the future is an armorer. I found my professions have kind of shifted in this moment, but that isn't the forever. This is what I can do now because of the ability to make money with this now, and the lack of complex components needed for the profession I would like to be in, and also the mining aspect of things. It's really hard to go spend markup to buy the ore and then use that to then make a blueprint, or use a blueprint to then lose your all the skin in the game you have So I need to figure out a way to make that better. But anyways, I'm getting off track again. So my perfect setup would be an unlimited weapon that I could hunt category 1 with well. Maybe category 2. Uh, Unlimited armor plates. Completing either my Atlas or Ghost, preferably Ghost. And I haven't started really, I just have been given one piece. So that's kind of the direction I want to go. If I can get the Ghost, if I can get the plates, that would work with this. And then I can get an unlimited weapon. I think I might become a fixture. I could see me becoming a fixture in some of these mayhems. I think that the threat, the ability, the potential is there so that I could really make an impact in my day-to-day games. Okay, so I want to get to the point where the 2 pet a day I get from Milo is used for a specific task, and then I have the ability to go to a mayhem, get the skills, get the points, get the whatever, and then go on.
Okay, guys, real quick, I want to do an interruption. It looks like I've got the global here. This global is my second global. It was a pretty big one. You have to get at least 50 PED to be able to make it, so this was pretty awesome. Okay, guys, so that was a pretty awesome run on the Mayhem. As you can see, the globals can tend to pay for themselves after a time. If you were to not have the cost of markup and that type of stuff, I think that it could be something that you could either remain neutral or maybe even be profitable on, because it's so hyper focused on one thing. Also, don't forget your skills and professions to help with that. But anyways, I'll get into that maybe in the next video. So if you got any value of this, just go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the last Easter Mayhem video for 2022. Talk to you guys later. Keep her in that bed. Bye.